Most of us don't like to do those things that come easy to us. I've always loved to talk to people. I decided, taking this advice, to develop my skills as a speaker. And my gift has developed and it's taken me many places. You have something that you brought to the universe. And that if you decide that my life deserves my developing this, what I do well, and becoming the best at it, and mastering myself, and seeing what I have within me, if you decide to drop your buckets where you are and develop your gifts, I grant you, you'll never ever be without. I grant you that your gifts will take you places that will literally amaze you. I grant you that if you begin to work to develop your gifts, you'll develop a strong sense of happiness. You'll get a larger vision of yourself, because part of beginning to get a larger vision of yourself, all of us need some area of our lives where we can have a feeling of competence. That people know when they think about this area, that's something you do. That you eat and sleep that. And that you do that. You do that. People know it. And you know it. And you know that you know that you know this. If you don't know anything else, you know this. Can you tell I know what I'm doing? Oh, hello. You know this. So you've got to work on it. When other folk are having a good time, you've got to have the strength of character to concentrate, to read, to digest information. If you decide in any particular area that you're concerned about, to make a conscious, deliberate, determined effort to read one book a month in that area, in 5 years, you'll be among the top 5% experts in the world. I read a minimum of 2 books a week. The average American reads only 1 book a year. If you decide that area that you love, that you are going to master that particular area, in this era of accelerated change, overwhelming complexity, and tremendous competition, as you begin to develop and expand your skills and your talents and your vision of yourself, you will always be in control of your destiny. The next thing is, whatever it is that you want to do, you want to do it massively. I have a friend who was telling me that his sales were down. I said, well, how many phone calls you make a day? He said, 25. I said, double them. Make 50 or 75 or 100. He said, oh man, that's just too much. I said, what do you mean too much? You behind on your bills? You talking about too much? You know one way to get back on your feet real quick is to miss 2 car payments? You talking about you're tired? There's no competition out here. Decide that you're going to push yourself. Most people won't do that. Most people give up on themselves easily. You know the human spirit is powerful. There's nothing as powerful. It's hard to kill the human spirit. There's Benjamin Disraeli, a man who became the head of a country at a time when Jews were not allowed out after 10 o'clock. They said, how did you do it? How did you achieve it against such great odds? He said, nothing can resist the will of a people that will stake even their existence on the extent of their purpose for good. That when you have a made up mind, when you decide that you want to do something, I was reading something the other day, he said, the power to hold on in spite of everything, the power to endure, this is the winner's quality. The hunger, the ability to face defeat again and again without giving up. This is a winner's quality. You have that quality within you. When you're hungry, you don't care about the facts. You don't care about the odds.
Key phrase, up front, the decisions are easy. Now, sometimes after we've lived a few years now, to repair our mistakes and get back on track seems like a tough job. If you've messed up your health for 10 years, I'm telling you, it takes more than 10 days to get it back. But here's the key, and it's so exciting to talk to the teenagers. Make the note, if you start early, the fortune belongs to you. If you start early. All fortunes that are available to humans, if you start early, the promise looms large and the odds are heavy in your favor. Now, yes, it's possible to do some radical things starting late and still arrive with some good treasures and some good things. But when you haven't got that much time left, now sometimes the decision has to be so drastic people are not willing to make it, and they're too tired and too weary and too ill and say, look, I don't have much time left. It's not going to happen for me anyway. It's easy to take that attitude. But everyone here, we've got the time over the next 10 years. We've got the time the next 20 years. We've got the time the next 30 years to make some repair now in our errors of the past and set up some new disciplines. And I'm telling you, that's going to change everything. So 5 years from now, I wish for you to arrive at a well-designed place. A place of productivity, a place that'll make you feel good about yourself, a place that'll give you honor and respect, a place that'll give you influence to touch other people 5 years from now that you couldn't do today. Where will you be in 5 years? Key phrase, we go the direction we face. We go the direction we face. If you start designing something at the end of this direction, sure enough, you will start going the direction you face. And we face the direction we design. Next phrase, direction determines destination. Destination is not determined by hope. It's not determined by wish. Destination is determined by direction. You cannot change destination overnight. You cannot change destination overnight, which means you can't arrive at a 5 years from now place tomorrow. But here's what you can change today, and overnight you can change direction. And it is so fascinating what a little small change of direction will do. Let's say that you're here and you're headed this way, and 5 years from now you'll wind up here. But here's how we individually can arrive at a new destination. Maybe right now by discipline or lack of discipline or direction you're headed this way. But it wouldn't take much to change direction and head this way, so that in 5 years you wind up here instead of here. And the difference now of getting off this track and getting on this track is not much. A few decisions in discipline, a few decisions in learning, a few decisions in change of behavior, change of habit, a few decisions in setting goals that you've sort of let drift before. Like I did at age 25, didn't have a list. I immediately started to change that, and I immediately started to change my direction, so that very quickly I started heading this direction. In less than 7 years, I was a millionaire, and that was just my economic. And sure enough, when I met my mentor, I was headed this way. And here's where I would have been in 5 or 6 years. Maybe okay. My kids probably wouldn't have been starving. And maybe, we got clothes to wear and a place to live. But the joy of productivity and the joy of becoming valuable to the marketplace and more valuable to my family and valuable to my friends in my inner circle, all of that probably would have escaped me if I would have kept going this way. But I am so thankful for the circumstances and whatever else arranged it for me. Some things are arranged. We don't even know how they've occurred. For you to be here, do you imagine the chain of circumstances that caused you to be able to sit in this auditorium today? It's amazing. This had to happen, and this had to happen, and this door had to close, and this door had to open. And all of those things, for me to be here, for you to be here, I just didn't drop out of the sky, right? And you arrived here from all kinds of directions. Here we are. And so we just say, wow, part of that's a mystery, and we let it be a mystery. We don't even try to figure it out. We just say, wow, it's incredible. But now that we're here, how could we collectively and individually affect each other's lives? It's by doing just what we've done. Study, learn, teach, shake hands, trade stories, and do all that stuff. So that we can help other people as well as ourselves to make that small journey to a new direction. So jot that down. It's only a small journey to a new direction. Guess how quickly you can change your health? By starting to eat an apple a day. Mama said an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Let's say you've been ill long enough, you've had health problems long enough, and you say, that's it, that's over. I'm going to now start a program. You don't have to really revolutionize your whole health life. Just start with an apple a day. You say, well, is it that simple to change your health life? And the answer is yes. The key is just to start. You pick up a book on good health, and you get halfway through the book, and it says, now, dear reader, set this book aside, fall down on the floor, and see how many push-ups you can do. And then it goes on to say, and if you have not done that, why not give this book away? It looks like you're not going to do it. Come on, you don't have to radically do something. You can gain momentum and make changes as you go. Just start. Here's what happens when you start a new direction. Self-esteem starts to accelerate. It doesn't take much for you to feel good about yourself. Just committed to a new direction and you feel good. And an apple a day, committed to finally having a health program that'll make you the healthiest you've ever been in the next 20 years. All you got to do is munch on that first apple. And nobody even has to be around you, and you don't have to announce it to the world. But you munch on that first apple and say, this is the beginning of developing a health program that's going to make me so healthy I'll have the vitality to do whatever I want to do for the next 30 years of my life. Munch, munch, happy, happy, self-esteem. Now, if you eat an apple the second day, you become almost delirious, saying, wow, I'm on my way. Somebody said, just 2 apples? Says, look, you don't understand. Not only did I do it yesterday, I've done it again today. This is really proving to myself with no audience, no microphones, no nothing, just you and yourself. You've convinced yourself, I'm on my way to the healthiest I ever have been. I'm starting a new life. This is the second day. I'm on my way. That's how easy it is to change your life. You don't need some dramatic vision. Just begin something. And maybe by health or by whatever other things we can think of to do, you just get back on a better track, okay? It's a small journey to changing direction. Just at the end of one struggle with ingenuity to try to figure out, I've showed this person this brochure. They want the products. I've got to tell them my story why I don't have any. I'll get the products, deliver, make a small profit. She figured that out. And she said just that occasion, which is probably not more than 30, 40 minutes long, and her ambition soared. She just simply said, if I did this once, I can do it again. And then I can do it again. So it doesn't take some huge year-long project of achievement for your ambition to soar or your confidence to catch fire. All it takes is some attention to detail, figure out something, use your ingenuity, let your skill level reach up to meet what ambition you have at the moment, and sure enough, then it all changes. The day you say, I'm going to change my health with my diet and all the rest, and I've heard that an apple a day keeps the doctor away, why not start with an apple? And the day you start with that first apple, your attitude can change, your self-esteem can change, and you can honestly say, I'm on my way. I'm never going to be the same again. I'm not going to walk the old road anymore. I'm going a new way. It just doesn't take much. An apple can do it. Something simple that you commit to and do it, and you can say, I'm starting to make the changes. I posed an interesting question. I said, could a young boy, 8, 9 years old, buy a bottle of soap for $2 and sell it for $3? They all agreed that yes, he could. Go next door. Say, Ms. Brown, I've got this soap. Mom use it. It's the best. She says you'll get great results. It's only $3. And Ms. Brown says, well, Johnny, I've got plenty of soap. And he says, you better let me come in and check. You don't have to teach kids sales, right? I mean, they're automatic salesmen. But they all agreed that a child could take $2 and buy a bottle of soap and then go sell it for $3. Now I said this poses some interesting questions. Here's the first question. Will he do it? Someone says, well, that remains to be seen. Even if he could, the answer is, will he? And that's true for all of us. We all could, but will we? Then I said it poses another question. Should he do it? That's a good debate. So they all agreed that we eliminated whether or not he could and started talking about whether or not he should or whether or not he will, which always remains to be seen. Interesting. It's not a matter of whether or not we can. Average person of average intelligence living in this incredible country can become financially independent in a fairly reasonable amount of time. The question is not whether or not they can. The question is whether or not they will. Then the big question is whether or not they should. And someone says, well, you should if you could. But that doesn't answer everybody's life. It said the sower went out to sow the seed, and sure enough, finally the seed falls on good ground, but some of the good ground produced 30%, some 60%, some 100%. And we say, why is that? Say, well, it seems like that's just the way things are. You say, well, couldn't the ones doing 30%, couldn't they do 100%? Well, maybe they could, but should they or will they? It remains to be seen. Everything after the fact we can always figure out. He could have, but he didn't. You know, we can always figure that out later. He perhaps should have, but he didn't. Someone says, well, sales would never appeal to me, so I couldn't buy a bottle of soap for $2 and sell it for $3. But what if you had to support your family? You said, well, I probably could figure out how to do it if I had to. So it's amazing how little money and how easy the answer is to solving problems, earning money, making money, doing better. Everybody can, but not everybody will. So here's what I called it. The magic and the mystery. The magic is you could start at the bottom and go to the top. The mystery is, why wouldn't everybody do that? That's what the storyteller does most of the time. Leaves so much to our imagination. I wonder why that is. That's good for conversation. What's unique, though, living in our country, there's so much example everywhere of what ambition can do, properly channeled, that it hardly leaves anyone with an excuse not to at least maybe try. Or you certainly have to give up on the fact, know that it can't be done, which is not true. It is possible to start with $1 and become a millionaire. It is possible. It is possible to start with nothing and become something.
Make the decision right now to be one of the ones who will. Stand apart from your life as a painter might as he surveys his work of art, and choose the area of your life where you know that you need to walk a new road. Now, if you've got that area in mind, Jim will conclude this session by giving you steps to transformation and bringing together everything he's discussed thus far. He calls it How to Turn Nothing into Something.
I've been doing a subject recently. Here's the title of it. How to Turn Nothing into Something. How to Turn Nothing into Something. And here's a little gist of what I've been covering. First, to turn nothing into something, you start with ideas and imagination. Now, it's hard to call ideas and imagination nothing. How tangible are ideas and imagination? It's a bit of a mystery. So you can't really call ideas that can be turned into a hotel, ideas that can be turned into an enterprise, ideas that can be turned into the Salk vaccine, ideas that can be turned into miracle products, ideas. You couldn't really call the idea nothing. It must have some kind of substance. And imagination can't really be nothing. We call it nothing because it isn't tangible. It isn't like a podium. It isn't that real. But it is almost real. So to turn nothing into something, you start with ideas and imagination. Interesting. Ideas that become so powerful in your mind and your consciousness, they seem real to you even before they become tangible. Imagination that is so strong that you can actually see it. You can actually see it. When I built my first home for my family in Idaho all those years ago, before I started construction on this home, I used to take my friends and associates out to the vacant property and take them on a tour through the house. Is that possible? Is it possible to take someone on a tour through an imaginary house? And the answer is yes. I used to say, this is the 3-car garage, and the guy would look and say, yes, this garage will hold 3 cars. Right? I mean, I could really make it real, make it live. I would take them on a tour through the house. Here's the fireplace, and this fireplace is brick on one side and it's stone on the other side. I could make it real. Here's the rest of the house. Here's the kitchen with this view window. And they would look out the window as I took them on this tour. One day I made this house so real, one of my friends bumped his elbow on the fireplace. I mean, it was that real. So imagination, we call it nothing simply because nothing in terms of being tangible, but it is so real, it's almost real. So the first step is to imagine the possibility. Imagine the possibilities. One of the reasons for seminars and sermons and the lyrics from songs and testimonials of others is to give us an idea of the possibilities, to imagine the possibilities. Now here's the second step of turning nothing into something, and that is to believe that what you imagine is possible for you. To believe that what you imagine is possible for you. And we become supported by testimonials that say something like, if I can do it, you can do it. And we start believing that. First, we imagine what's possible. Second, we start to believe that what's possible is possible for us. We might also believe because of our own testimonial. Here's what our testimonial might say. If I did it once, but I could do it again. If it happened for me before, it could very well happen again. So we believe not only the testimonials of others who say, if I can do it, you can do it. If I can change, you can change. If I can start with nothing, you can start with nothing. If I can turn it all around, you can turn it all around. Then we also have the support of our own testimonial. If we've accomplished something before, if we did it once, we can do it again. If we did it last year, we could do it this year. So those two things are very powerful. Now, they're not actual substance, although they're very close. One is to imagine the possibilities. Two is to imagine that what's possible is possible for you. Here's what we call that second step, faith to believe. In fact, one writer said this, faith is substance. An interesting word, that the powerful ability to believe in the possibilities that are possible for you. If you have faith to believe, that faith is substance. Substance meaning a piece of the real. Now, it's not the real. It's not the podium, but it is so powerful that it's so close to being real. So the writer said the faith is a piece of, the substance of, and then he called it evidence, substance and evidence. So it's difficult to call substance and evidence nothing. It is nothing in the sense that it can't be seen except with the inner eye. You can't get a hold of it because it isn't yet tangible. But it is possible to turn nothing, especially ideas and imagination. Now, if you believe that it's possible for you, that substance and evidence becomes so powerful that it now can be turned into reality. So the first step is to imagine what's possible. Second step, to believe that what's possible is possible for you. Now here's the third step, and that is to go to work and make it real. You go to work and make it a podium. You go to work and make it a hotel. You go to work and make it an enterprise. You go to work and make it good health. You go to work and make it an association. You go to work and make it a good marriage. You now go to work and make it a movement. You make it tangible. You make it viable. You breathe life into it. and then you construct it. That is such a powerful ability for all of us as human beings. I just wanted to take the time to drop that in before I move on to so many other subjects. How to turn nothing into something. Now here's the last part. It takes the disciplined activity to turn nothing into something finally. Faith without the activity serves no useful purpose, but faith invested into the activity creates reality. Once I understood that, I knew then it was possible to build a career. I knew it was possible to build good health. I knew it was possible to build a relationship. Disgust is one. My little story about the Girl Scout, I don't want to live like this anymore. It was traumatic for me. It was a traumatic day for me. I'm a grown man. I have been to college 1 year. I've got a little family going, and I don't have $2 in my pocket. I wasn't destitute, but I was behind on my bills, and once in a while getting a notice saying, you told us the check was in the mail, those embarrassing moments. But that was sort of the climax that day when I said, this is not the way to live. So whatever it is, disgust. One of the big days that changes your life is decision making. I'm not going to be the same anymore. I'm not going to walk that road anymore. I don't want to be embarrassed anymore. I've been on my knees for the last time. That's big time. Those decisions that sometimes last for a lifetime. Some decisions are incremental. You make a decision to start the process, which is valuable, and later you make the decision to continue. That felt good. That got good results. Why not continue? When I really started revolutionizing, especially my economic life starting at age 25, the early success locked me in for a lifetime. I got such great early returns. I don't mean overnight, but at the end of the first week, at the end of the first month, I started a little part-time adventure, age 25. You know, that's available to all of us. So disgust, I've had it. That's a powerful emotion. I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to feel like this anymore. This is the last day. That's powerful. Then the day you decide to make the changes, do something different. I decided to read the books. I started a program of reading. Now I've got one of the best libraries probably of anyone that I know of. Life-changing decisions that last a lifetime. Then I think on some of that we need a little help, a little association. Two of the most powerful words in the world are let's go do it. It's powerful to say I'm going to do it, but it's even more powerful to say let's go do it. Sometimes if you want to change your health, that's a good thing to say let's do it together. You know, let's meet every Tuesday and every Thursday morning at Denny's and talk it over. How are you doing? Here's how I'm doing. How are you doing? I think that's valuable. Let's do it. Let's get better educated. I'll read a book between now and Wednesday. You read a book. You know, we'll get together and talk about both books. Okay, let's do it. See, where by yourself you may not do it. But if you had somebody like-minded, what's that ancient phrase says? If 2 or 3 agree on a common purpose, nothing is impossible. It doesn't take 2 or 3,000 or 2 or 300. If just 2 or 3 says, let's walk a higher road, let's do it, let's pull it off. The inspiration of camaraderie, working together, I've always used that. All of my enterprises since I was 25 years old have all been multiple, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. Let's do it. So powerful. Resolve says, do it or die. I'll do it until the results start to come. And it's always resolve with willing to face the unknown. Yes, I said I was going to do it or die, but later, here's what I discovered. So then you have to sort of rearrange. It's like planting corn in an acre of ground, and it never does come up. It never does come up. Somebody said, well, just keep on planting. Maybe you need a new acre. So maybe it isn't just persistence and do it or die. I'll plant every spring, by gosh, until I have a crop. Have you ever considered maybe you need a new acre to plant in? So that means, like later discovery says, wow, I've been at this now 3 years, nothing's happening. Then you say it. You know, I know I said I was going to do it or die, but I've got some better information now. I need to go a new road, try a new acre. Some of the philosophies that changed my life forever. Here's the first one. Profits are better than wages. Once I understood that, I got rich. Profits are better than wages. Nobody taught me that in high school. I went to college for a year and a half and never heard it. I'm 25 and broke. I'm not destitute. I'm broke. Too much month at the end of the money. It's broke. And I finally hear this philosophy. Profits are better than wages. Now here's the phrase that goes with it. Wages make you a living, which is fine. Profits make you a fortune, which is super fine. And you can live both fine and super fine. You've now got the mechanism and the ways and means to do that. Profits are better than wages. Guess what? I taught this in Moscow when I was teaching capitalism. You know, the communists had it all wrong. They taught that capitalism was, a big company that oppresses its workers. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. They had mentally lost it when they came up with this ridiculous philosophy. Communism taught capital belongs to the state, not the people. And we taught all these years what? Capital belongs in the hands of the people, not the state. That's why, of course, kids should pay taxes, because they can be capitalists, and all capitalists should pay taxes. And it doesn't take much to start an enterprise that makes a profit. I teach kids how to have two bicycles, one to ride and one to rent. I mean, how long does it take? How long does it take to make a profit? I mean, a little ingenuity and you're on your way. So profits are better than wages. Capitalism better than communism. Communism said people are too dumb and stupid to know what to do with capital. So you must take capital away from all the dumb, stupid people and give it to the all-wise, all-knowing state. And let the state run everything. I mean, that was communism. And they devastated every country they touched. I've been to East Germany. It's taking $1 trillion just to clean up East Germany. They've already spent $500 billion. They got $500 billion more to go. I mean, every country they touched, and I've been in all of them, they devastated them all with their devastating philosophy. We teach capital belongs in the hands of the people. That's where the ingenuity is to bring goods and services to the marketplace. But once I understood this now, it was so incredible. Profits are better than wages. Now, when I first was recruited, I'm a distributor for this little product called Abunda Vita. And here's what my mentor said, Mr. Schoaf. He said, Mr. Rohn, you can start this miracle working business part-time. You don't have to go full-time, you can start part-time. And he said if you'll devote, to start with, let's say 10, 12, 15 hours a week, where you'll start making a profit, here's what you can now say. I'm working full-time on my job and part-time on my fortune, because profits lead to fortune. I got so excited about that philosophy. I'm working full-time on my job, but now I'm working part-time on my fortune. I found a way not only to make a living, you won't believe this, I found a way to make a fortune. Can you imagine what that's like then, to get up in the morning, to go to work on your fortune, not to go to work to pay the rent, which is okay, but a chance to go to work to make a fortune? And I said, right now I'm working part-time on my fortune and full-time on my job, but it won't be long until I'll be working full-time on my fortune. Can you imagine what life is going to be like?
So I come here today begging, not pleading, not asking, begging you to look yourself in the mirror tonight and ask yourself if you're happy. And people always say, I don't know what my passion is. I don't know what I would do. Yes, you do. You do. You just don't think it would work. You think it's too small. You think it's too silly. You think people would judge you. You know. You're just scared to say it. You know exactly what you would do if you could do it every minute of your life. You may not right now. As I'm saying this, you're like, no, I don't. Gary, I don't. It's because you haven't even allowed yourself to look. This is the time to build businesses and profiles and content around what you enjoy. This is the time. This is the time. And waiting one more day makes no sense to me. So whether you use the momentum of the energy we created today or something else, please don't get older and regret. Please don't watch this exact video on whatever YouTube is in 35 years. You want to hear something weird? Everybody in here right now is actually watching this right now in 35 years. Everybody here right now is actually going to watch this exact talk on video on the internet in 35 years. And I'm going to ask you, did you fuck up or no? I mean it. I mean it, because what I'm interested in is, did you understand what I was saying here today and do something about it? Or do you do what so many people do? Do you know what I watch every day? I watch people see a video clip of mine on Instagram or YouTube or Facebook or what have you, leave a comment that was the clip that was changed their life, right? It feels very nice. Oh my God, this just changed my life. I'm going to do it. But I'm weird. You know what I do? I follow them. And sometimes, especially on trips like this, when I'm in the air for 24 fucking hours, I will go and look and see 6 months, 9 months, a year later, if they did anything about it. And 99% don't. There's a lot of people in this room right now that said, this is it, I'm going to. I see you. And then in 2.5 weeks, all the energy is going to be gone. And I spend every day thinking about that. One of the biggest reasons I produce so much content is I used to speak a lot, but then there wasn't as much content. So I thought, okay, maybe if I put out content 8 times a day, it can get them going. I've come to learn, and I very much believe this, I was gifted and parented very well that allowed me to actually not care about other people's opinions. I respect them. I never think I'm always right. This is not about thinking you're right. This is not about me being delusional or audacious. This is me understanding that if you judge me, you don't have all the context. honest. You don't know me, so how do I know you? I don't. Even the person closest to you, a spouse, a parent, they don't know. Nobody knows. So why would you take somebody else's opinion over your own? Please, my friends, don't live a life that gets you to 80, 90, 100 years old where you're sitting there and saying, I wish I did. I wonder if I did. Nobody at 90 years old, go find your oldest relative and go take them out to lunch and ask them just like this, talk to me about life. They will not talk to you about what they did. They will talk to you about what they did not do. They will talk to you about what they wish they did. Don't wish. They had an excuse, your grandparents, your great-grandparents. It wasn't practical. You couldn't do what we can do. This didn't exist. This did not exist. Please take advantage. Please take advantage of this existing. This is the greatest era to be alive. It is. There's plenty going on in the world, plenty going on in my country, plenty going on in the world. But when you look at the macro data, this is the greatest time to be alive. And you happen to be living in a great place for my thesis. You live in a place where this country lives its life here. And the cost for you to enter it and do something for yourself and your family, $0. I do not want to hear that you don't have money. I don't want to hear that somebody else is further along, because nobody else's life matters. This is an inside game. Inside. Start making content. Start talking to the world about what you either like or you know. Do it every day. Close your eyes for 5 years. Not how are you doing in 5 days. Not how you're doing in 5 months. 5 years. I come back here in 5 years, or I see you in an airport in 5 years, and you say, every day I made 5 pieces of content and I went nowhere. I would say 2 things. Number 1, I'm proud of you. That was a long time. Number 2, you clearly suck, because if you're putting out things for 5 years and nobody gives a shit, your stuff sucks. Please, I hope, Jakarta, you heard me today. Everything on the platforms, you know. You know which ones people use. You use them. Your friends use them. You don't need that information. What you do need to do is take a step back and don't think that video and pictures are the only way. I do think audio and written word for a lot of people here matters. By the amount of hands that went up for entrepreneurship, I think a lot of people here have to look themselves in the mirror and ask who they really are. Are you self-aware about your skills? But leaning into what you're interested in and producing content has never been more practical. And I implore you to take advantage of this very special time, because you have one life. You might as well live it. You don't know yet what you're best at. Like, why are you picking your expertise if you haven't seen everything else? You should go in. It's like food. I love when people are like, Gary, I like eating exotic food. So sometimes I'm in a meeting and I'll order oysters or sea urchin or whatever I order. And I go, and my dinner person will be like, well, I don't like oysters. I'm like, well, have you ever had an oyster? No. And that's how I think about this. You need to understand ads and media and ads and creative and Spotify and Instagram and LinkedIn. You have to taste everything. You may think Instagram is delicious until you actually taste LinkedIn. You need to be a generalist first, then you can tell me what you're an expert in. So for me, when I look at investing, there's only 2 things I care about. 1, do I generally believe in the idea or the concept? And then 2, and more importantly, do I believe in her or him and they're capable to drive it? I've lost a lot of money as an investor in the last 10 years, 15 years, when I loved the idea so much and I could figure out what I would do with it, but the person running the business wasn't capable. And I learned from that. So now it's 51% you, 49% the idea or the concept. That's what I look for. But I think more importantly, because I want you to be successful, you need to find what startups here need to do, or businesses here. You have to find investors who are most likely to invest in you. I see so many people wanting to get money from the cool VC or a bank, and they're never going to get it. You need to find the investor that's going to invest in you. And a lot of times that's somebody that did what you did before and they understand it. So as a startup, look for investors that are most likely to invest in you. The best financial decision I ever made was never spending more money than I had. And what I mean by that, Ben, and I appreciate the reaction, because that means it's a very smart crowd. I am fascinated that people buy things they can't afford to impress people they don't like. Yeah, man. Like from a practical standpoint, right? Back to your question, I think being aggressive is important. When I met Mark Zuckerberg for a drink many years ago, it took me 2 seconds, and I mean 2 seconds, and I knew he was going to win. And so when I went home and had an opportunity a year later to buy stock from his parents, right? I took 90% of the money that I had saved in the bank and I invested it, right? And that was a great decision, obviously, for me. But I didn't take 200%. I didn't go borrow money, things of that nature. I took a risk, but it was a risk I could afford. Here's why. If I was wrong and it went to zero, all that would have meant was I couldn't eat as fancy or maybe go as fancy on a vacation. But it didn't mean I was going out of business. And too many people here take big risks that they can't afford without thinking about what happens when you go to zero. I'm very aggressive and I do a lot, but I never take myself below zero. I'm willing to go to zero because I'm not fancy. I don't need stuff, but I'm never willing to go below zero. Keep that in mind.
Every time I walk out on the stage, what the moment means for me is just like when I met Oprah and I was like, God, you're still with me, man. Every time I walk out on the stage, because I didn't choose this. This chose me. God chose it. God orchestrated and architected. And so when I meet a person and they're like, man, Ink, I really appreciate your video. I saw the Tennessee video. I'm like, God, you're still with me, man. When I see somebody in the airport, they're like, man, can my kid take a picture with you? Can you sign this? I'm like, God, you're still with me, man. And so my question to us is this. Every single day in every aspect of our lives and the things we're privileged to do and the people we're connected to, when the situation or the moment does not go out, because we all know what to do when it goes right. But when God says no, who will you be? But most importantly, who's watching you and who can be blessed by the opposition, the adversity, and the challenge that you're facing? I firmly believe this wasn't for me. This moment was for my father and the countless others that have came to Christ as a result of it. And every day of the week, thank you, and every day of the week, I think we're tasked to make this world a better place, right? In life, people don't burn out because of what they do. People burn out because life makes them forget why they do it. Let's never forget why we exist and why we do what we do every single day. Let's never take this thing for granted and think that an alarm clock wakes us up. We know who's the Alpha and the Omega. Let's represent him bold, courageous, and proud. May you bow your heads. I'm going to close us out with prayer. Most incredible, most gracious God, we come to you as a body, humbling ourselves in your presence.